When Shadow of the Erdtree first launched, it was met with a ton of praise, but also some heavy criticism. Some said it was too empty and the loot isn't great. Others said that the final boss was terrible. Yeah, that was me. And some have even said that the lore isn't a good enough payoff. Spoiler alert, that last one couldn't be more wrong. Just as it's easy to have these knee-jerk reactions to the DLC, especially after getting blasted for the 300th time against the final boss, the same can be said for the lore and story of Elden Ring itself. Why major characters did what they did to get us to this point. Why the lands between and the Land of Shadow exist in the state that they're in. We are now learning that the actions of these characters were somewhat of a knee-jerk reaction too. Heck, even when I made an assessment while watching the story trailer leading up to this DLC, I realize now that I was impulsive and quick to assume what side I'd even be on. He's bad, that's the villain. She's good, made of gold, pure and kind. And then as I progressed through and beat the DLC, I realized, well, I might have had that all wrong. Viewer beware, as we will now be talking spoilers beyond this point. Alright, let's talk about Marika. So soon after I beat Radahn, I made my way to the far east of the map, and I stumbled upon the beautiful hinterlands. I had heard rumblings about Marika growing up here, and that this was going to tell a major part of her story. Knowing this as I entered, I took a moment to take in the atmosphere, and I gotta tell you, I was completely blown away. I was originally going to upload this clip on its own because just before this moment, I had demolished the tree sentinels leading up to this area. I was rocking with that lightning perfume bottle build just before it was nerfed, and I wanted to show how quickly I was taking down enemies. But now that I know a little bit more about this area, I'm now kind of apologizing to these poor tree sentinels. I'm sorry, man, I just didn't know what this all meant. Because now I feel that they were likely guarding that beautiful area. And here I was just showing up and completely wiping them out. See ya! It's interesting because apologizing to some of these characters has now become a theme amongst some of the Souls community. We're sorry, Mohg, and even more so, we're sorry, Mesmer and Marika. Ever since finding these hinterlands, my curiosity and fascination with Marika has grown immensely. I've since learned a bit about her backstory, as well as why it shaped her actions, getting a better understanding of why she did what she did. And just what was that exactly? As we now know, Marika grew up in the shaman village located in these beautiful hinterlands. The shamans were sadly oppressed by the Hornset, which obviously bothered Marika, to say the least. The oppression drove her to leave and actually ascend to godhood, becoming a vessel to the Elden Ring. And now we know that she ascended to godhood in the Land of Shadow, and then after tucked it away, hidden from the lands between. And because she wanted death to be a thing of the past, this led to her removing the rune of death from the Elden Ring, thus causing it to shatter. This created the Golden Order and essentially caused her imprisonment. Or at least that's the theory. I've watched very interesting lore videos on this, and many of them mention how godhood is seen as imprisonment to Marika. And because she wanted revenge on the Hornset for what they did, she had Mesmer wage a war on them as punishment for their atrocities. And by atrocities, we now know the extent of them, sadly. You know those jars in the DLC? Marika's people were being stuffed inside of them, harvested, experimented on, enslaved, and told that it was their purpose. The Bonnie village adds to this disturbing story as you find the Tooth Whip in that area. Its description reveals that the flesh of shamans were said to meld harmoniously with others, and that is why the Hornset chose them to be stuffed in these jars. It was pretty disturbing fighting against these enemies, knowing what they were made of, as they lunged at me over and over, and the more I look at them, the more I kind of realize they do look a bit like Marika. Or Radagon, we should say, because Radagon and Marika are kind of the same person, but that's another video for another time. There's also an interesting theory that Mesmer used the furnace golems as payback for the shaman being stuffed in those jars. Because if you look closely at the golems, they are made of dead bodies too. And we assume these bodies are made up of the horn scent. Basically, eye for an eye. You hurt my people in a disturbing way, and now we're doing the same to you. Mesmer and his armies clearly did not hesitate in following Marika's order. It's easy to notice throughout the Land of Shadow all of the bodies that are impaled by the hand of Mesmer. Knowing all of this, I can see the reasoning behind Marika's actions, and also why it makes sense that she wanted a world without death to begin with in the lands between, and then why she ultimately waged war on those who hurt her, the Hornset. However, why she sent Mesmer to do the worst to her enemies and then locked him away remains one of the biggest questions. Some of the most interesting theories I've heard are about the serpent in his eye. It has been said that certain serpents are god killers. So perhaps Marika knew of this, and in order to contain the serpent, Mesmer had to be locked away. Another theory is that Mesmer took the fall out of loyalty. His power was too strong to continue, so he was made to take the fall and look like the devil in this situation. Hence why many of us, myself included, had that knee-jerk reaction thinking he's the true villain, because he truly looked the part. But as we dig deeper, I'm not so sure that's the case anymore. In fact, I feel there's so many gray areas when it comes to many of these characters, and then it hit me. This storytelling is fucking fantastic. No, really. As someone who makes Souls content, I can't tell you the amount of times I've heard gamers complain about From Software storytelling. They often say that they don't want to read item descriptions or look up lore videos to figure things out, that the story in Souls games are always bad and too cryptic to enjoy. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever entertain that opinion ever again. Putting together these theories has dramatically changed how I view Elden Ring in the best way. After completing the DLC, I went back to the main game to get items and trophies that I had missed. And as I'm revisiting these areas, I find myself looking at everything now. The item descriptions, the NPCs and what they tell me.
Oh, Lord Godwin.
The types of enemies and the statues that I see as I come and go. Especially when it came to Marika's statues, I just had to stand there and gaze at it for a minute. The lore and what I pieced together in my own interpretation based on what's significant to me has really enhanced my time with this game. Even more so because it's already a great game, but the lore just adds more to it, to the point where I feel addicted and I can't stop searching for everything and anything I missed. And the naysayers downplay the most important part of this storytelling, and that is that a lot of it is left to interpretation. And as I interpret the actions of these characters and who I side with, or understand and sympathize with, it shapes me to love this game even more. The lore of Elden Ring and searching for what I'm interested in made me feel that this is much deeper than I realized. And that goes with any Souls game, but I'm so happy that I'm finally having that moment with Elden Ring. Because when I have revelations based on what set my interest up for those revelations, the payoff feels even better. Even when we don't exactly know the answer or the exact story, we interpret it in our own way and make it make sense, which naturally gives the game more meaning because it's our meaning. I just can't praise it enough. The shadow in Shadow of the Erdtree has taken on a whole new meaning for me. I now see Marika's truth in that shadow, her pain, and reasoning for her actions, the revenge she's so desperately wanted. And now that truth has come to light. And this just only scratches the surface, which is even more amazing. A lot of people tell me to make lore videos, and I'm not sure if this really counts as one. Maybe this is just the start. I just love being in love with these games, and I can't get enough, especially when the lore is this damn good. And there's just so much more to talk about. We are barely scratching the surface of this amazing story. So let me know what you guys think about this video, if this intrigued you to want to learn more from my perspective and how I interpret it. Do you want more lore videos? Definitely let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.